Hello and welcome to the Assetto Corsa Competizione Sim series, here live from the British track of Snetterton. This is the Gold Split Round 1, but first we have our GT4 setup with the support race. This is the first time that we're going to be heading to one of the British GT tracks, and we are at Snetterton, which is not one of the ones that I think most people knew about before the race started. It features two incredibly long straights, very twisty, technical first sector and second, and I guess end of the first sector, start of the second sector, and then two or three, I guess, incredibly tricky corners in the third sector. Some really fast entries into very slow corners, and then that obviously long right-hander. I'm Gareth Romther, and I am here for the start of our season's Gold Split. Obviously, first we have the GT4 support race, but then we'll be moving on to the main GT3 event. All of the races will be taking place at Snetterton, and I believe all are on the same weather conditions. They were all on the same weather conditions last time, so I don't see why that will have changed too much. We are in qualifying right now for the GT4s, and nothing much has changed as far as the structure of our season in the top splits. Most of the sort of experimentation has been going on in bronze. We've got a few more juicy bits for our stream. I hope you enjoy some of these little cliplets that we're going to have going out. And as we are sitting here, we may as well have a look at the order. Right at the end of qualifying, these are all the drives and cars we have. Quite a few BMWs and Chevrolets. We've seen them be very popular after our 4 hours of Alton race that we had. The Porsche doing very well, as is common. Names here throughout, bronze and silver splits. Obviously, shout out to all the bronze drivers in here, because they are not getting streamed anymore. Unfortunately, there will not be any picture-in-picture today, because I am on my own. I am Mihailus for the first race of the season. But Snetterton, start with the track, as obviously we do not have the drivers to look at yet for our main event. It's really interesting. I'm still honestly not sure how I think about it. It's seems like it would be good for racing with those two big long straights, but neither of them have corners that are sort of great for racing. The back straight has a decent overtaking position at the end, but that really, at least from my experience, is the only place where you're likely to make any moves. the first corner is just far too fast. So any moves need to be made into the second corner, which is really tight and slow. You can get a dive on the inside there, but you're often going to be, if you're following very closely through the first corner, that can get a little bit scary, and you get a bit of aero wash and fall back a slight bit. There can be some awkward off tracks in there. I definitely think that the final corner, which we can see on the track map here, is definitely the roughest. The final section, even. Both the super fast entry into the really tight right-hander, which requires a brake, you lifting off the brake and then braking again, and then the long right-hander into the very tight corner onto the main straight. So if I change this, there we go. I hit page up, I meant to hit insert. So you see the times, the 1:58 there for Jose Martins, and he is going to take the pole position to Porsche's, doing very well. Hopefully we can see in the race some split up from the Porsches. And then we can hop in. Driver's briefing for Gold has just started in the Discord to my right. And before we head on into the race, we're going to show off some of our new fancy adverts we've got from some of our sponsors and supporters. Here we are on the grid, ready to go for our first race. Jose Martins in pole position in the Porsche Cayman. Alan Noah just behind him, followed by Luis Fernandez in the Aston Martin, taking up the second row. Rayan Reza, a couple of new names in here that I'm going to have to learn how to pronounce. The highest place Chevrolet, good to see one of the Chevrolets up there. The Chevrolets all packed to the bottom early on, but a few of them setting some decent times now. He's followed by James Gibson and Kurt Moss. Michael Wang, number 7, the first of the BMWs, quite a few of those. Octavian Robu and another one just behind him. Eric Hodge in 9th position in another Chevrolet before the last BMW of Torsten Jadke rounds out our top 10. Short formation lap in this one, so we shouldn't need to waste too much time. We can have a check out of some of these liveries. Very much a fan of that yellow and black Chevrolet, very ACCSS colours. A bit further forward, we can see the front row is going to be very confusing to commentate because Jose Martins and Alan Noah have chosen almost identical liveries. Both with Fanatec draped across the top of their car. We have the Ryan Resser Chevrolet in that bright pink. It will be easy to tell. So they're coming around the last corner for a quick start on this race. Trying to get as much tyre warming as they can be done in such a short time. And then around the tight final corner. Here we go. They should be on their speed limit now.
Green light, go, go, go.
And we're green. Both of the Porsches get a reasonable start, so the second one getting a little bit bogged down compared to the others. Chevrolet backs off to avoid any sort of bump into the first corner, but a slam side by side for that Aston Martin. That is Luis Fernandez, I believe, who's just been thrown off of the track. That loss of momentum gives the Chevrolet time to dive down the inside and take second place further down in the field. It's a little more crunched up. Managed to get all around cleanly. This section coming out of the second corner can have a few incidents. We saw some of those in my bronze split race that I was racing in on Friday. The yellow BMW overtaking the blue, and then we have Aston Martin of Scott Walker falling further down the order. As we get through the first timing zone, we should see some timing. So, the blue BMW. Oh, that's a blue Chevrolet actually sending the BMW around. So he's going to have to start right from the back. Another side hit from that Aston Martin. I think that's Luis Fernandez coming back onto the course. And we are back into vision. We can see those in front quite far ahead. Why does ACC always do this to me? Circuit map. Full. There we go. So back at the action, Jose Martinez is leading from Ryan Ressa, who is in this bright pink Chevrolet. So they come into the last sector for the first time. Alan Noah then is third position, quite a way behind these first two who are really battling it out. Further down the back, we've just seen Chris McKenna has gone well off there. An easy place to do it. We've seen quite a few people mess up that very sharp last corner going into that section. Ryan Reza now following down the main straight. The lead Porsche is going to have an opportunity possibly, but like I said, very hard to follow through this corner and have enough time in the slipstream to dive out on the side, so he's just going to keep it where he is. Have a look further back in the field to see what's happening. A couple of Chevrolets near the back. Just ahead of Chris McKenna here is Ronnie Noilm, who's chasing down Sven Ludwig, and the only Audi in the field, maybe? No, there's two Audis, and the Maserati of Michael Walden. Always got to shout out anyone driving the Maserati in these GT4 splits, obviously. Scott Walker here being chased down by Luis Fernandez, who fell down the order and now is trying to work his way back up after a strong qualifying performance, being the man who is representing the Stewards team in this race. Very bouncy there from the Audi, crashing across some of these big curbs. Very bumpy curbs is something we're going to see a lot throughout our races. Down the front here, Alan Noah is getting pressured as well by James Gibson, who is in this Mercedes behind, this green Mercedes. A lot of green at the front of the field, which I'm a big fan of. Luis Fernandez here, looking like he could be having a go at it. Diving to the inside into the first corner. There we go. Really nice move there. He definitely, we know he has the pace, so it's if he can make these moves. Stays defensive into the second corner. Very early braking for the second corner. It's barely a short shoot there. And he manages to keep the position for now, going into this incredibly technical section near the beginning of the track, where it's really difficult to pass. If you can stay super close there, there might be a chance into this hairpin, but it's a daring one if you can try and make it. further back in the action. We have a little train here as we just see Chris McKenna once again going off, braking a little bit too late there in the Chevrolet. Doesn't lose too much time, is able to chug his way across the grass. But Ludwig now going on the inside into that hairpin, as I was talking about, on the Maserati, but keeping his foot nice and feathered, is the Maserati driver in the orange and purple, who's managed to have no issues getting out of that corner and staying ahead into the second section. Fantastic work there from the Maserati. So off there for one of the Chevrolets. It looks like it is Ronnie Noam. Ronnie Noam now back here behind Chris McKenna in 15th position. These guys side by side. It looks like Ronnie Noam, he has the inside, but he has to dip back in behind for this incredibly fast corner. Oh, and actually doesn't brake as much as Chris McKenna and sends him off. Those two there in the background having a little bit of incident-filled day. Back to the front. Jose Martin still leaning from Radar Reza. Alan Noah still then in front of James Gibson. Could definitely see some splits sort of opening up between our former and latter drivers here in the support race. A reminder that this is likely to happen in our sport races due to the fact they are open races to all of our splits and do not have our regular rankings applied to them. So we're sort of seeing the silver splitters drive off into the distance while the bronze splitters perhaps fall back slightly. Let's sit on board, if I remember which the correct camera is, for a little bit with James Gibson. James Gibson chasing down Alan Noah for third position. The last of the podium positions has a little bit of a mistake there as we see the tyres tumbling in the distance. We will sit on board for any of you who haven't raced in Statterton and are just tuning in to have a watch, and maybe some of your friends. We can see this last corner. Let's hit him with Reza maybe because he's closer to his opponent here, and Jose Martinez at the front. This is first and second position. We are on board with second. The brake, the lift off, the turn in, and another brake. He actually had to accelerate in the middle of the corner there because he was a little bit slow, being perhaps cautious not to make the same mistake we saw the Chevrolets making earlier. Incredibly hard to keep your foot in here. You can see him, hear him on and off the throttle constantly, which isn't really the way you want to do it, but with less practice for these sort of smaller races, more casual races, this sort of thing can happen when you're just not quite sure where you can put your foot in. It's very hard. You sort of need to be half throttle through a lot of that corner. We'll hop a little bit further back because we have another battle just further down here. Looks like it's raging. We have the two BMWs there, the pink and blue, and then Fernandez, and it looks like he has taken Hodge. So Hodge, the foremost of this back group of Chevrolets here, has been overtaken by the Aston and now has the Audi of Scott Walker on his back, looking to make a similar move as Fernandez continues his climb up the board. The GT3 gold split at be setting at Spa. Oh, I don't have those times on my hands right now. If you are already in SGP, you can look back at our results yourself to see that. Or if you message an admin, I'm sure, maybe message me on Discord, I can have a look for you after this event. God, I should say, I like Fernandez's livery on his Aston Martin as well. The sort of pastel almost look, that sort of pastel pink line in between them. I didn't notice in between that nice teal and the blue. A really nice colour combination there by our drivers. And actually, Reza has got into the lead. I'm going to hop back 30 seconds to see if I can see it. Nope. He must have dived him into turn one. So a fantastic work there by the Chevrolet. Now we are back to live times. Porsche still sticking pretty well to the back. Oh, but then the other Porsche behind's gone wide. That was Alan Noah. Going to keep his position. James Gibson looking straight down his back. He needs to be careful not to make that mistake again. See how much Luis Fernandez has pulled away from the two behind him as well. That is super impressive as Scott Walker is right on the heels of this Chevrolet. Further back, Wheeldon in the Maserati has managed to pull away from Ludwig, who was challenging him earlier. And Ludwig now has Nortimer right on his back in the McLaren, just ahead of Ronnie Nolm. Big chunk of curb taken there by the Mercedes. And Luis Fernandez now right up behind the two BMWs. He's going to start to want to be picking these off ever so soon. The BMW, however, the GT4 with the chunkiest of engines, the most power. You can see there one of the BMWs sticking close, one going wide. I think you sort of want to take a bit of a middle line between those two. Fernandez clearly having the pace advantage on these two and just needs to now find the position to do so. You can see how much the BMW pulls away in the straight. This is going to make this move very tricky for Fernandez. James Gibson still on the back of Alan Noah, with now Kurt Moss in the other Porsche, that bright yellow Porsche right behind him, trying to make this a 3-point battle. As you can see there, very wiggly Eric Hodge in the background has been overtaken by Scott Walker. Gibson looking for a move, but not able to do it. That, as I said, is a very tricky place to try and do any sort of overtaking. Oh! And Fernandez giving it a little bin there. Fallen off from the back of the BMWs and making another mistake. He's going to have to start working on that again. Chevrolet in the front there going defensive, and he's actually going to lose his position while the Mercedes behind going aggressive gets on the inside. They're going side by side through this corner, and they managed to make it fantastic driving from these two. But now the Mercedes still has to try and push around the outside to keep his position. This is, if anything, almost a harder corner to go around the outside of. You see the little twitch there from the Mercedes. Porsche still has the inside line drifting out towards the Mercedes, but they're keeping it friendly. The Mercedes not getting too much on the dirty line, but going out a bit wide, has to slow down more. Or maybe he doesn't, because the Porsche teams didn't slow down enough. He's on the grass now trying to make it a safe rejoin, and he does, losing 2 positions in the process. Porsche now of Kurt Moss going for a move himself, although the Mercedes has gone defensive. Going to be very hard to go around the outside of that corner, and it's not going to happen. He loses quite a bit of momentum there, turns in a little bit too early and takes a chunk of the curb for good measure. Up at the front, Reina Reza still has that position, so Jose Martins didn't quite manage to take it off him. Over at the back here, Roy Weller looking to be a little bit aggressive. It seems that Michael Weldon has fallen down the order. Oh, there you can see again a little bit twitchy as well as the cars behind him go wide. Very easy to do in that. Oh, and that Maserati as the Chevrolet takes a big dive into the first corner. doesn't manage to keep it stable, and the McLaren takes the place. Sit on board with Jose Martins coming to the last 4 minutes of the race. It's going to be about 2 laps left, maybe one more. Ooh, big hit of the curbs there, but he gets a nice acceleration out, which the Chevrolet doesn't seem to. Comes out early, but the Chevrolet has kept the stronger line there. You can still see him on the right-hand side, and he is on the inside. It's going to be tricky to hang out wide. As I said, he's not going to manage it. Can he get a cutback, though? He can get a nice move in, but the Chevrolet manages to keep the inside clean. Still got a decent momentum. He could try dive into this corner, but he is not going to. He's to continue the battle for the lead on into the second sector. Behind them, Malinois, it seems, has fallen off from the other 2 cars. As Kurt Moss continues to chase Joe Gibson in the Mercedes. Ooh, that's not a place where you expect to overtake, and you may see why there, as it's not going to happen. Getting on the inside, perhaps trying to push the Chevrolet off his line, but it's not really going to work, and Martin's now taking a lot of exit on there. Hopefully that means that he's got a decent speed down this straight to try and take the Chevrolet, but it doesn't look like he was really close enough. Oh, big mistake there as well for Kurt Moss in the background. Going to fall back from Mercedes, but luckily he built up enough of a gap ahead of the Porsche in front of him that he's going to be fine. Good race here for the first round of our GT4 support series. Good to see as we see another car in the background there going off. Was that Kurt Moss again, perhaps? Looks like... oh, it might have been. Porsche now side by side. Not able to make anything there, though. He was on the outside trying to get some sort of switch back, but it's really hard to get the acceleration out of that corner in any better way than your opponent. Next chance is going to be this chicane, this hairpin even. Around the back of the Chevrolet. Dips out, but not going to make it go. Little tap on the back there of the Chevrolet. Tried to dip out and then get back into the toe, but didn't end up braking enough. Possibly trying to put the Chevrolet off his line and taking advantage from that, but he's ruined it there by hitting the Chevy in the back and losing a lot of momentum himself. Seems like it might have been a back marker who went off, because Gibson, Moss and Noah are all still in line with the 2 BMWs behind them. All this fighting at the front, allowing Joe Gibson to catch up a little bit. Sorry, it might have been Fernandez actually who went off, because I've just realised Fernandez dropped down to 10th position where he was behind both of the BMWs. But here we see our leading triplet heading on to start the final lap.
Okay, the leader is on the final lap now. Give it all you can.
Further back here, the 2 BMWs as well going side by side. pink BMW of Mr. Wang on the inside. Gets the position done for now. And keeps it through the next corner. Good job there to switch around the two BMWs. Further back, Luis Fernandez is clearly trying to make up for the mistake, which I believe saw him off in the last corner. He has already made up a place on Scott Walker and is now chasing down Eric Hodge for the next position. Martins at the start of the straight is right up behind, so we can see if he manages to make anything this time. Chevrolet got a better exit onto the straight though. Oh, a little bit of a wiggle caught on the back there of Joseph Martins. It's going to mean that Rainer Esser, in his big pink Chevrolet, is going to come through to win the first of our Season 6 GT4 races. Jose Martins in second, James Gibson in third, Kurt Moss in fourth position with Alan Noah in fifth. Then see the first of the BMWs, Michael Wang, followed by Octavian Arubu. And Hodge will manage to keep his position to Luis Fernandez just up into the line. And this will leave Scott Walker in the Audi to finish and round out our top 10.
Bring the smell of rain into my bed and lie so close to me. You could be inside my head. Maybe it's a once in a lifetime kind of thing to feel the kind of magic that your love brings.
Is a Rob yet?
Hello and welcome back. We are now here, back at Snetterton still, obviously, but in our pro split. This is the end of the free practice session, and you can see that we have some new members to our split. I've just realised my broadcasting tool is incorrect right now, so I need to restart it. But Jensen is leading the times. Jensen is a driver who we've seen in some of our team endurance races, put a very good qualifying down at Silverstone. But so far, we have not seen him in the pro split. And, claims I've connected, but I have not. We need to hop in and out of the service. Sorry, everybody. Just Kunos things.
Green light, go, go, go.
Green light, and there we go. Yeah. Everything is back under order. Broadcast tool exists. Here we are. So, Rummel Jensen is a new driver to our league, who I believe we have not seen before outside of some endurance events. He sets the fastest time in all sectors in our gold split. Fabio Geno coming second with Thiago Szymanski, who has left the BMW and is driving for Audi this season. Andre Dixon Chen, another new driver in the 900 McLaren, just behind him. Alejandro Chirabao behind him in the Ferrari. Another new driver, Joseph Cocking, once again in his Audi. Or was he in a Lambo last season? Nicholas Norberg has moved to Aston Martin from Ferrari. He looking for something a little bit more stable, while Jack Harvey is still in his trusty Lexus. Nathan Burnswood still in the Aston Martin, another one who we've seen before, and Andy Thorpe in the Mercedes. Rounds out the top 10 of practice. We've still got Paul Gractix. We can see Max Diggs. We can see Pedro Fernandez. We can see Arno Strom, Daniel Durrett, Jack Winter, Benjamin Horiot, Lewis Hawkins, and Sam Teague and Justin Clark. All familiar names. And we move on to qualifying. We can see a lot of new fast guys. So we'll see who that helps. It is a Lamborghini out first. Gonna have to see what number that is. Number 30, that is Daniel Durrett. Daniel Durrett in fantastic liveried Lamborghini, actually. I'm a big fan of this yellow and black, obviously. Very sad to see yellow and black leading the Formula 1 grid this year. But we have it back in ACCSS. Thanks to Daniel Durrett. Have a look down some of the other drivers who have left the pits. Daniel Terry just behind him, failing to get out first for once in this awful, horrible Aston Martin livery. He might be running a custom livery for himself. I happen to know that this is the livery he ran yesterday in the RCI 4 Hours charity event, where he raised 1,350 for the World Health Organization. Or the something else initiatives. I can't remember the exact one. Go have a look at that VOD on RCI, though. That was a fantastic race. And he drove this livery because everyone was running ridiculous liveries. And I believe he has forgotten to turn it off because he would much prefer, I believe, to be driving his ACCSS livery. Robert Dunn in the Lexus now. He was in bronze split, actually, for his first season last split. Did very well there. Has been hopped up to the amateurs of this split. For those of you who are new, we have a 30-minute qualifying session. The first 15 are for the AMs and the second 15 for the pros. So we are going to hop on board for this first run with Daniel Durrett as he comes down the main straight. First acceleration zone, you can accelerate surprisingly, or brake surprisingly late and get accelerating halfway through the corner, really, before you run down to this chicane where you have to accelerate, or brake, I believe, surprisingly early. We could see very deep there from Daniel Durrett. Didn't make it. Really not obvious how late you need to brake, or how early. Here, little tap on the brakes there. You can go quite late and get a lot of acceleration thanks to that outer concrete, although it is very bumpy, braking at about the 1 marker here, sorry, just before that. Getting very tight and get on the accelerator as soon as possible. You can normally start accelerating about where that pole is, so pretty late for Daniel Durrett. Just going for a bank lap, I'm sure. Little tap on the brakes and through there. He's gone off a little bit. Oh, very wide into here as well. Super messy first lap from Daniel Durrett, but a tiny tap at the end of this green turns you round. You can start accelerating just past those tyres normally and roar your way up the main straight, the back straight even. Thank you hugely to Padster 8543 for us that prime support as we break down for the first part of braking for this last corner. A little bit on and off there from Daniel Durrett, but you can really cut that into 2 stages of braking. One big brake before the turn in, and then the second big brake, just a tiny tap there before you get into this huge right-hander. About here, you lift off and then just throw the car in. Start applying accelerator about here, just a little bit to keep the car wide, otherwise you're going to hit the grass. And then brake about the second pole for that tight last corner. And this is a first lap of Snetterton coming at you from Daniel Durrett. Obviously, going wide means that he is not going to have a lap time. Daniel Terry sets the first lap time at a 1:51 flat. Not a good lap time, just a banker getting in there. 1:47.8 from Cockin. That's much more like it. Joseph Cockin in the Audi setting our first, I think, really representative lap time of the session. I feel like that's going to be a pretty good one for the AMS as Fabian Piogne comes in, equaling his third sector until it is broken as the purple sector by Alvin Storm. Very interesting at this track how much difference there isn't really in the times. We've seen the fastest times here so far only just dipping into 1:47 as Pedro Fernandez goes in at 1:47.7. There were already 1:49s, 1:48s popping up in the amateur, in the bronze split on Friday. So seems like everyone's a lot closer together on this track. I don't know if it's just that even the pros have driven it a lot less than they've driven a lot of other tracks. Jack Winter now deciding to pop himself up on the timing lines, driving a AMG Mercedes this season. Dan Terry coming around the last corner for a big improvement that will hop him up a few places, put him at a more representative lap time overall. 1:49.6 there for Daniel Terry. Here is Andy Thorpe in a very green Mercedes. A lot of Astons this time in AM, judging by people who have already set their lap time. He's going to come across the time with a really big improvement. This is going to put him right near to the top of the times. Second place with a 1:47.7 for Arno Thorpe. Couple of people up on their time so far, but not a consistent consistent improvement sort of happening. Often we see a lot of people set their best times early, or a lot of people improving throughout the midsection of the sector, but it seems to be very much half and half right now for our drivers. Snetterton once again just being hard to pin down, I think. Lovely black and teal quadrant looking livery here from the Aston Martin. Coming through the last corner, but he's really messed up the last sector. He was almost half a second up on the last sector. He's still going to come through with an improvement, but he's not going to be able to jump in position. David Long just behind him. Much better work from David Long. He goes pole. 147.5. Fantastic work there from the ACCSS liveried David Long. Team Poms. So I'm sure he has one of his custom Pom Bear liveries installed over that base coat. And Terry once again going for an improvement down near the back of the pack. But we've got actually some improvements coming at the top. David Long already half a second up through just the first sector. So he still has plenty of time left in his pocket. It's Jack Winter, Joseph Cocking leaving the pit. Andy Thorpe as well leaving the pit for another go-round. Pedro Fernandez takes the pole time, 1:47.5. Just 0.02 of a second faster. Here is Fabio Gino, the top Lexus right now. Both Pedro Fernandez and David Long making small improvements to their time so far around the lap. I believe the 977 of David Long coming right up to the end of the lap and is just possibly going to make an improvement, but might have lost it. Pedro Fernandez still has a little while to go as we are still watching Fabio Gino, who is on the largest improvement out of anyone in the top 10 so far this lap. Last corner, good exit from here. Little bit safe there, didn't want to push it and lose it, and he's dropping time down the straight because of it. Still going to be improvement, but only gains him 1 place. Could have easily had another. Got to mention, obviously, how incredible it is as we switch to Pedro Fernandez, who's about to make an improvement on this time and ruin my point, but how close these next 3 drivers are to each other. Pedro Fernandez, 1:47 flat, as Mauricio Radelli, 1:47.1, very close to that time. So we have the three Musketeers still in 3rd, 4th, and 5th, very close to each other's time. And then Mauricio in this very ACCSS looking Porsche has set out of nowhere a fantastic time. Are there any? There are no amateur drivers yet to set a lap time. So all 19 of our competitors setting a lap time. Jack Winter, Joseph Cocking, 2 of these 3 drivers to be together about half a second behind the pace so far. Both looking to make improvements on this lap. David Long also on a lap, but not quite making up on his time yet. Just any tiny improvement from any of these guys could throw this order about here because they are so close. And Joseph Cocking is the only one who still has his time left. Jack Winter, we saw absolutely losing all of it. Oh, bad through that. Bad through that quick right-hander. Could he get it through the last corner? He has. Fantastic exit from that last corner. Is going to jump him up, possibly up to third position here. Joseph Cocking, 147.451. There is still chance, there's still time in this session for our AM drivers to make an improvement, but no one seems to be managing it right now. On my broadcasting tool, I could just see a list of red numbers. A lot of drivers now looking to make an improvement. Going for their last flying lap. Joseph Cocking looking to make even more of an improvement on his time than he already did. Ooh, wasn't expecting that. That is more improvement in the out of the last corner than I thought he could get, and he manages it. 600ths ahead of Pedro Fernandez. Joseph Cocking takes an incredible last-minute pole position in his red Audi. Andre Dixon has made a nice move there to get himself up into 10th position, and on this last lap is trying to make more. They have until the 15-minute mark to cross the line for their last lap. So Dan Terry coming up to the line now. Will he get across in time? Possibly. I'm not sure exactly where the line is, honestly, but these two might be the last two allowed to make their times. Dan Terry is going to go for it, and he's binned it already. And bonk. Sad Aston Martin noises in the chat. We have more with number 69, it seems. Sam Teague in the big pink Bentley. You won't miss this car coming around the corner. Let's see. Are any of the AM-split drivers making an last-minute improvement? Shelly Esposito. Last driver looks like he could make an improvement. Florian Goldenich, Jose Martinez, who's right back just ahead of the pro guys. So these are our guys. Esposito has lost his time. Goldenitz right at the back of the grid, but with a huge improvement going into this last lap. If he can just keep this. If he didn't go wide. Oh, and he slowed down on that last corner. Still ups up a few places, but not as good as it could have been. Jose Martinez, our last driver through before we settle in to watch the pros. So Joseph Cocking is the leader of our AM drivers so far. Pedro Fernandez behind him with Rodelli in third position. And here is Sam Teague in the big pink Bentley coming in for hopefully a much cleaner lap around the track, as we see Martinez pulled off there to the left to make sure he doesn't get in the way Sam Teague taking the early braking point with no brake markers left thanks to Dan Terry, so he's just going to have to know his way around. Luckily, the AM drivers have given them some rubber on the track to see, braking just before this marker on the right and turning it in, get accelerating as soon as possible. Out there a little bit onto that concrete. Don't want to go too much because it's very bumpy. Brake here, as you can see by the concrete just a little bit before the second marker. Take a nice late apex and get the acceleration on early. Just a tap through here. Get yourself turned in nice and close to those tyres. And then a brake quite early into this corner, down surprisingly slowly to turn in. He could have taken a little bit more of that curb. It was perhaps a bit too slow, but a tiny brake there at the end of the green strip. Accelerate as you pass those tyres and you're onto the back straight. Brake at the number 1 board. Turn in. Brake again. Clip the apex and accelerate out onto the concrete. A little bit messy there from Sam Teague. This is just a first lap and he had the right idea there. As you tap the brakes through that fast left-handed, let off the brakes as you start seeing that crane coming around the picture. Bit more acceleration to keep yourself wide. Brake on the second pole. Clip the apex out onto the concrete. And Sam Teague is around for the first of our pro laps of Snetterton. Puts himself up in 14th place so far with a 1:48.1. Nathan Burnsford, who was just behind him, a 1:47.4, up into 5th position. Leonard Schungel takes 22nd. You can see a couple more drivers coming in. Carlos Bandera, Justin Clark, and Jensen. Rummel Jensen, who seems to be far too fast for this league, already with a 1:46.8. Absolutely smashed it at the qualifying for our Silverstone team race, and now absolutely smashing it here as well in the Porsche. This is Rummel Jensen's Porsche in the blue and white. As we start into the second half of qualifying, quick thank you to everyone who's been following and subscribing during this time. It's a lovely thing for us to have for the time that we put in at ACCSS. How fast he is compared to that Lexus in front of him. That is an awkward situation. Here is Carlos Bandera, who is on a pretty good improvement from his time so far. Still a couple of drivers to have not set lap times. Diego Szymanski, Fabio Sicansi, David Cox, Paul Krampf, and Paul Gratix, and Rob Bown, who all have not set lap times quite yet. Carlos Bandera a second up on his time, 2 seconds down from the pace. Nice exit from the last corner. It's going to jump him up a few positions. Benjamin Horriot, the next driver we can look at to gain some time. He's also a second up, but he's only halfway around the track here in his orange and black Aston Martin. He's got the whole third sector to go to keep up with this time improvement. Oh, that's a close one. It's a replay of Benjamin Horriot going through the end of that lap. Car off to his left already. Comes around this fast corner. You can see a bit of dust there kicked up by this Audi who lost it. Ooh. That's not something you want to see happening too often there. So Nathan Burnswood now has taken the lead with a 1:46.7 away from Rummel Jensen. So perhaps I spoke too soon on Jensen. He got up to speed very quickly and was the highest in the qualifying. But Nathan Burnswood has been one of our guys for a while, possibly looking to make this his final season. Get himself banned from ACCSS. The top 3 placements in the championship of the top split, that's only the pros within this gold split, they will get banned from the ACCSS Championship Series, and they will get a special role in Discord. Also, if you win 3 races, you will get that honor. I'll have to check up how many races have been won by drivers like Nathan Burnswood and such. I have a feeling he may have won one already, but we'll have to see that. Robert McGregor down here in the BMW. Good to see at least one BMW making it to the field. Where is Paul Glover from the chat? Paul Glover, obviously one of our commentators on the Saturday split, along with Dan Terry. He's taking a season off from ACCSS. Busy man, doing all that he does at race department, working on multiple different leagues and such, both with commentary and with driving and in them. So he's having a break from ACCSS and doing some stuff elsewhere. Today, I believe it is his nephew's birthday. It's a child's birthday in their family at least, and so that is exactly where Paul Glover is. But he, I believe, will not be racing at all this season. Rummel Jensen is back on top ahead of Nathan Burnswood, 46.2. S&P racing car here, driven by Jim Reed. Another newcomer to the series. Good to see more Ferraris in there. Especially good to see more of them using default liveries. So some fantastic colours in there. He's half a second up now. So is Cameron Marston, who is in 16th so far. We've seen a few people jumping around near the top as well. Alejandro Chibri and Rob Bown have both jumped up towards the lead. Still seeing quite a lot of AMs up there though, so we need to see some slight improvements from a few of our drivers here. So here is Cameron Marston. Still up about half a second on his time. We can see the Ferrari we were just watching there in the background. Going through this tricky last sector. Really going to make or break you on this lap. Fast entry into that corner, but not a great exit, so loses a little bit of time. Jim Reed actually does the same thing behind him. Cameron Marston makes it up through that fast right-hander and into this long, slow right-hander. He's made up a ton of time there. Looks like a decent exit as well. It is. This is going to be a big improvement to his time. Put him right near the top of the field. That's 4th position. 72 Ferrari of Jim Reed up into 12th. Starting to see more of our pros near the top, which is nice. We still have a couple of cars who haven't made it. Paul Gratrick's actually not in the server when I first clicked on his name, but has just rejoined, so perhaps having some internet issues. Diego Samansi says his first time, and his first time is good in the Renault RS liveried. Absolute racing. He is now up into 9th position with a time of 1:47.1. Nicholas Norberg just behind him. Leonard Schungel, normally a Porsche driver, is into an Aston Martin here. Pretty nice livery, unlike that McLaren behind him. But not such nice times yet. In the first race I saw him in the Aston, he was actually doing really well right up the top. So perhaps just not liking Snetterton is Leonard Schungel, our original head steward. We have, as the camera swings over to him, Jack Harvey making up some positions. He's quite low down for Jack Harvey. Jack Harvey was someone who a lot of people were talking about possibly getting banned. Clearly been putting in more effort to some of his endurance races recently, because he's down in 28th right now with a 1:47.8. So just of note, Rummel Jensen has improved his lead time up to a 1:45.8. The first time into the 1:45s. As Jack Harvey comes around with about a half a second up. Bit of a slow exit. And he's going to jump up quite a few places in this tight midfield. 15th. We are near the end of the lap. A lot of people, by the end of the session, a lot of people are going to be setting up for their final lap. So, hopefully we're going to start seeing a flurry of quick times coming in here, as we have people setting up for their final lap. Over 20 people within 1 second from P2, says Pavel in the chat. Is very close in the midfield. Great to see. They're going a little bit wide, but still has an improvement on his time ready to give. And as Pavel was saying, these times are so close that if he manages to finish with these 3 or 4 attempts up that he has, he could be right up into the midst of the top 10. Decent exit, a little bit soft on the accelerator there. And only up to 13th, so not a great final run there from Teague. Nathan Burnswood, who's done incredibly well, set a strong lap outside of Rummel's, obviously, 1:45.8. Going for an improvement, looking nowhere near matching Jensen, but could pull himself away from the rest of the pack. He does it. Up to a 10th away from the rest of the pack. Fabio Sikansky won't be making an improvement. That is a horrendous livery from Paul Krampf. That looks like it's it, ladies and gentlemen. I can't see any more improvements to come. So we are here with a 1:45.8, putting Jensen on pole position. One last quick thank you to everyone who has put down there any subscriptions, any bits, any follows to the stream. Remember, if you have Amazon Prime, you can link that to your Twitch, and with Twitch Prime you can give us some of Jeff Bezos' money because he has too much already. And now we are going to get ready for the grid walk. Here we are on our grid. Fantastically full grid here for the first round of Season 6 of ACCSS. And on pole is our new member Jensen in the 224 Porsche. Rommel Jensen, followed by Nathan Burnswood in the Aston Martin on the second row. Another new member, Alejandro Chiribal, is on the second row in that fantastic traditional Ferrari livery, with Cameron Marston behind him. Another new member, Rob Brown, one of our old guys, living in Canada right now, in the McLaren on the row behind him next to Joseph Cocking. And then another newcomer in another Ferrari, Jim Reed. Great to see another prancing horse further up the grid ahead of Pedro Fernandez in the Aston Martin in P8. Benjamin Horiot in P9 is followed by Diego Szymanski, who swaps his BMW for an Audi and rounds out our top 10 ahead of our split master Nicholas Norberg, who's moved to Aston Martin. Then we have Rodelli in front of Sam Teague in his big Pint Bentley, and Matt Diggs, another of our American drivers. Jack Winter in another Mercedes behind him ahead of Jack Harvey. Then we have Sikanssi, Cox, Long, Clerk and Geno making up two little Lexus pairings there. Storm behind them, Cramph, Daniel Durrett, Thorpe, Bandera, Dixon, Chen and Fisher. McGregor in the only BMW on the grid in front of Hawkins, Greatrix, Chanblay, Dudley, Dunn, Doherty, Pionnier, Shungle, who's moved to Aston Martin, Esposito, Goldnitz, Terry, Nergard and Martinez in that Jack Simsport liveried Bentley. And as we watch our cars roll away for their formation lap, we are going to throw it back from some highlights from our 2.4 hour endurance race at Kyalami. We are back. We are at the end of our formation lap in ACCSS. As we come around the last corner, people are going to stretch off. I did have a little look back to see if Nathan Burnswood had won a championship series race before, and I believe he has, although with the domination that Jensen put on in practice and in qualifying, we may not see that mattering. We come up to the green line.
Green light. Give it all you got.
And we're off. Porsche gets a great start at the front. Ferrari putting a little bit of pressure on the Aston Martin behind that. The Aston Martin Marston not having a good start at all. You can see the front really stretch out as we're heading into the second corner. Second corner is where any of the incidents could be, honestly. So this is where we're going to be a little bit careful. Audi chopping off the nose of the Ferrari there. We're back to looking at Jack Winter far back through the list. It doesn't look like any incidents here for our gold split. A little bit of bump in there. Ferrari not really given the space and pushed off the track. But overall, it looking reasonably clean. As we head back, we see there Thiago Szymanski has been spun around. Quickly see how that happened. He just got tapped by the Ferrari, couldn't be side by side there, and you actually see another car almost spinning into him at the end of this replay. So we've got a few cars fallen back at the back here. 2-1-1, that's Lucas Fischer was the Ferrari that we saw getting turned around. Jensen is still leaving from Nathan Burnswood, Chirabao and Rob Bound behind him. You see really stretched out the lead from Jensen already is incredible, as the Ferrari getting right up onto the back of this Aston Martin as we come into the final section from the first lap, taken to the grass a little bit, giving Rob Brown a little bit of momentum behind him. But not a place where you can really do much on this track. Back through the field here, we can see Sam Teague trying to make a move on the inside of Nicholas Norberg. These two have had their comings together in the past, so I'm sure Nicholas Norberg will be giving that big Bentley a lot of room. And now as he comes past, it's Nicholas Norberg who has right on the back of him Jack Winter. Along in this train of cars, he's taken the slightly defensive angle. Jack Winter is there side by side him, takes the position. You can see that just behind them side by side, that's Max Diggs and Jack Harvey. Jack Harvey looking for a way around. A lot of cars taking a lot of the concrete over there. Very bumpy. You can see them rattling around as we're watching Joseph Cocking here in his red Audi. He was looking pretty strong in the lead of the amateur split. He's got a couple pros behind him before he even gets down to one of his split mates who could come challenging him. Engine sounds are quite silent. My bad, my friends. I probably still have it at my playing volume. I apologize. I hope that is better for you all. Turn my own volume down a little bit. So Alejandro was right on the back pressuring Burnswood before, but now he's fallen off and Robert Bound is right behind him. We've seen him taking a lot of those curves, bumping about, perhaps not with the safe consistency to set those laps on a regular basis. He might have his eyes on his mirror. See Rob Bound trunking him down, although that was a really nice exit from the last curb there by Chirabao. No worries, Alan. I'm better than that. The ACC volume is the only volume that's been raised. The ads should be good. Very close in there from the back. Rob Brown looking for that position. Cameron Marston checking out just behind them, waiting for any more incidents. Oh, we actually have a spinning Porsche out there on the left. Who would that be? That would be Rodelli. So let's check out what happened there. So here we are coming through the last corner with Rebelli. He may have gone slightly too far back in the replay here. He's got Sam Teague right behind him. It's always a worrying sight, the big pink Bentley. Sam Teague there, flashing his lights, super aggressive as usual. The Porsche goes a little bit too wide there. Oh, tipped around. We're going to have to see how our stewards think of that. All these races are live stewarding. But I'm not sure that was Teague's fault, honestly. I think the Porsche might have come over him from just what little I could see there. So from where we are, you can still see the Porsche taking a huge lead. That is Jensen. Nathan Burnswood then making a little bit of a gap before Chiribo and Rob Brown. Cameron Marston keeping those guys honest. Car 99 here with Pedro Fernandez trying to make a move on Horia. Not going to happen. That's a nice aggressive move there, showing he's got the pace. He's actually hung it around in the tight line as well, which isn't going to give him an excellent exit. Harvey here has been making his way up the field slowly. He is stuck behind Max Diggs, however. These two chunky Mercedes with all of their early torque make it a little bit difficult. And there you see those bumps. Holy. He's been taking too much of Paul Glover's advice and investing in some of those cryptocurrencies there. He was going to the moon. That's going to put him hugely far down the field. That was the number 34 that he just came out. And there's the Porsche that we saw getting tipped by Teague. You see there Jack Harvey's name falling down the order. Side by side with the Porsche. He manages to take the racing line and get past there. Nice work. Chunking a curb again. We're going to hear some complaints about the bumps from Jack Harvey in the voice chat after this, I am sure. Back at the front, no change yet. Ooh, oh, look at that. More cars off. It's an Aston just in the background. That's Marston. So Marston and Bound both going wide there. Marston looks like he didn't get his brakes on at all there. Coming down the straight. How is it going to go for him? Yeah, he had no one else near him. Oh, his back end just gets away from him a bit there, and a huge drift. Managed to catch it, but this is something about these British tracks. These sort of smaller club tracks. When you are off on that grass, it may look flat, but that is deceptive. It is incredibly bumpy out there. Marston finds himself now in 9th position in a little train of Astons behind Fernandez and Horia. Daniel Jarrett seems to have made a really nice drive up. I just noticed him there behind Sakansi in the Audi. He's come from 24th all the way up to 16th position in these early moments. So very good run from him there. And I believe he is 5th in class. So a really nice points for here if Direct can keep it up. Direct seems to be catching up on Sakanski, which can pull him away from these two amateur drivers behind him. And now watching Jim Reed. We're going to sit on board with him for a little bit in this SMP Ferrari. Through the middle section, Jim Reed is basically at the front of the train here. You can see a few cars starting to form up behind him, and all the cars in front of him are really starting to make out a bit of a difference here. Teague there going a little bit wide ahead of Jack Winter. A lot of dust being kicked up here by people fighting. Just ahead there, Carlos Bandera behind Paul Krampf, looking like he's trying to find a way around. Pit window is open. There is a mandatory pit for tyres in this championship, so everyone will have to start pitting soon. For those of you who aren't used to ACCSS, the oranges show, the orange numbers by their car numbers show how many pit stops they still have left. They are all on one so far. Justin Clark in 13th has a 10-second penalty. Look at the steward's document to see if we can find out what that is for. Number 62 car of Justin Clark hit the number 23 car of David Cox. That penalty will be served at his pit stop or at the end of the race. Car 161 here. Maruccio Radelli sitting at the side of the track. This is not a place you want to be. Try and get a nice rejoin. Oh, he left the space, but he gets a spin. Let's see what happened to him to put him in that position. And just another back end gone, trying to go a little bit too fast in that first corner. This is something that we see all the time on this track. Porsche doing Porsche things indeed, as these guys suffer, as some people would say, the trials and tribulations of the Snetterton racetrack, the first British GT track to feature in ACCSS, and we will be heading to a second one, Donington, at the end of this season for our 1 hour finale race. Sam Teague also picking up a 10-second penalty, so it seems like the first incident with that Porsche that we were just watching of Radelli, that was deemed by the stewards to have been Samuel Teague's fault. Here is Dixon Chen, one of the few McLarens in our field. Lovely livery on his McLaren as well. Big fan of this. With the art car Mercedes behind him, although that's heading into the pits there. I think that is a back marker, perhaps. So Rumble Jensen still leading this race, far out from the rest of his competition. Has started to come through a few of the back markers, but most of the field reasonably tight together. Pedro Fernandez here is being ran down a little bit by Cameron Marston, who we saw taking to the grass in Sector 3 earlier, so he is looking to pull himself back up the order. He is running second in AM class as it is. These guys just behind Benjamin Horrier are still in that little triple of Aston Martins. Rounding out the bottom end of the top 10, and you can see how much they're pushing on that concrete at the end of the lap. There we go. Pit for Marston. Pit for Rob Bown as well. So these guys going for early pit stops. We'll have to see how well that does them. The car here of Alejandro Chiribao has actually, it seems, caught up to Nathan Burnswood. Nathan Burnswood, who started slowing down now. They have a back marker Ferrari just behind them who might have been responsible for that slowdown. But this could end up being a bit of a move because he's going to be right onto the straight behind the Aston Martin, although the Aston seems to get a better exit. Another driver we should talk about is Leonard Schungel, who we see here in his new Aston Martin for Q Racing. He has actually made it up to 14th from 37th, following Kevin Chandley just ahead of him, who came up from 32nd in his Lexus. So these guys have been making an incredible work so far. Obviously, there have been a load of people in front of them pitting, but still a really good work for them. They've been doing excellent. Jensen now in the pits. So this is our leader in the pits. Cocking in the pits. Pedro Fernandez in the pits. Rob Bown is the leader of those who have pits so far. So here we get Rob Brown coming out and Jensen actually slotting in just behind him. That is Jensen taking the lead, ladies and gentlemen. How did he do that? Must have been a horrible pit stop from Jensen, because Rob Bown is ahead of him. Rob Bown wasn't even in second position before the pit stops, which means that we can really expect some changes here once the rest of the front of our field start to pit. Nathan Burnswood coming into the pits. He is going to give us the answer that we are looking for right now. Did Rob Bown just come out with an absolute banger in terms of strategy? Or did Jensen really screw up his pit stop? Coming around the last sector now. So if Burnswood gets out ahead, that means Jensen had a bad pit stop. If Nathan comes out behind, that means that Rob Bown has just played an absolute blinder. Here's Rob Brown coming down the straight. With a headicam there, we see Nathan Burnswood in the background. So Rob Bown has had a fantastic move here. Dropping back and dropping back early with the pits and absolutely mashing his foot to the throttle in those laps. So how far back is Nathan Burnswood? Nathan Burnswood about as far back as he was before from the Porsche. does put us with two Ferraris at the front of this race, which obviously makes me very happy. Jim Reed in second, Alejandro Chiribi in first position so far, with 5 minutes left on the pit window. So Alejandro, Jim Reed, Benjamin Horia, all in the pits. Gonna have to see if they make anything up on Nathan Burnswood, who is coming around the last straight behind these guys. But from what we've seen so far, this looks like a good position to be in. Oh no, unfortunately though, Rob Brown has dropped down a lot to Jensen here. So even though he got the move made originally, Jensen is just powering out ahead. Still a huge move from Rob Brown, though, to put himself up that far. There we go. We saw one of the Ferraris leaping out there, and that looked like the leading Ferrari of Alejandro. That it is. Alejandro has jumped Burnswood, however. Jim Reed coming out now. We're not going to know exactly where he is till he crosses the next line, but it's looking pretty good for these guys. We are now fully into the stage with a mixed up field where everyone's behind back markers. Daniel Durrett, the last driver to go. Oh no, there we go. Jim Reed dropping down the order. A lot of these guys are on his lap. And he's now at the back of that trio of three, so Jim Reed, 10th position so far, with Daniel Durrett still to pit. Pedro Fernandez, right on the back of Joseph Cocking right now. It's slowly closing in that gap. This is the fight for the lead of Split after the pits, unless Daniel Durrett does something magnificent. Fernandez really closing in on Cocking as well, so this could give us a nice fight for the lead as all of the brake markers have been wrecked there. Oh, he's really fast on the accelerator there. That was brave. That was brave, and although the Audi is pulling away from me, should still have a good run. No, don't get out of the slipstream yet, my friend. There is still a chance that he can pull this one off. Diving into here if he gets a good run through, but he's falling back from the Audi and is going to have to wait until next time round. As there's... Whoa, there's a couple of cars off there. Who was that? Was that Cocking? That was... What the... Oh, bad rejoin as well. Bad rejoin. Was that straight into... That looks like Nicholas Norberg in the Aston Martin there. So did he just spin it? He's fine so far. Comes in here. Brakes. And oh, that was a bad move from the number 64 Aston Martin of Cameron Marston, who just absolutely takes Joseph Cocking out. And then Joseph Cocking with a bad rejoin. So that looks like it's going to be 2 penalties there. Possibly not, because, I mean, he was already on the track and maybe Norberg just went sort of wide into him. They'll have to see about that. But our stewards will be on the case. That puts Joseph Cocking down into 14th, just behind Nicholas Norberg. And the Aston Martin of Marston in 11th for now. Daniel Durrett is in the pit, so we will get to see where he comes out. There are the leaders passing him by. Thank you, ACC camera, for being just so weird. should get going pretty soon. There we go. So here he comes out of the pit. There is a Mercedes with Jack Winter and Max Diggs passing him. There is Leonard Schungel, who is a back marker here. And there is Nicholas Norberg right behind him, who has the momentum. Is he going to be able to make the dive down into the first corner? No. He backs out of it, doesn't want to take the risk, and Daniel Durrett goes wide, giving him the position back. So Joseph Cocking, who is right behind him, was leading Amsplit, but was taken out, and now is down in 5th position in Amsplit, just ahead of Daniel Durrett, who we were looking at in 4th. Bullcrap back down here, chasing Jack Harvey. Bullcrap, if you watch this back, you're going to have to change your livery, or you're going to get a very little screen time with me. It's horrible. And I was asked in chat earlier, before stuff started kicking off, for Esposito. Esposito is in 26th right now. Which I don't know where that is in terms of the AMs, but I would assume, from just knowing how our league goes, that he's probably in about the low section of the points. Points go down to 15th for each split. Here. Yeah, Gino is 8th. Yeah, so Esposito is 10th in his split right now. Mansky is just ahead, now racing for Audi. He has a 10-second penalty to his name, but is still chasing down Justin Clerk. Benjamin Horriot in 6th position is leading Jim Reed. This is our closest battle up the front, and this is for position. Both of these in the pro class. So, definitely for position, but points is what I mean. Benjamin Horriot there, though, with a much nicer exit from the last corner, is going to pull away slightly. As the David Long Aston Martin there behind Sikansky, who was looking a little bit wayward out of that, just a little while ahead of Sam Teague, who is now getting chased down by Jack Harvey. Oh, Sam Teague there, very slow into that corner, worrying that he'll go a little bit too wide, kept the accelerator on for more than you usually would. Jack Harvey managing to keep it out the back of the Bentley. Getting on the accelerator early there, a little bit too early, gives him a twitch of oversteer. Sam Teague with his hazards on as usual. Penalty here. at the start of this sort of little train here following Joseph Cocking. David Long just behind him. These guys are chasing down Daniel Durrett.
Leaders on final lap now.
So, final lap of the race, and Rummel Jensen is leading, as always, throughout this race, pretty much. Rob Bound, with a fantastic pit manoeuvre, has seen himself all the way up into second position, just a little while up from Alejandro Chiribao. Nathan Burnswood then, following on from him, with Pedro Fernandez leading the AM class in an impressive 5th position overall. And our first real battle comes here, with Benjamin Horiot and Jim Reed fighting for 6th position. Behind them, we can just see in the background Jack Winter chasing down Alvin Storm. Daniel Durrett here in 12th position, chasing Norberg. Jack Harvey, it looks like as well, has just taken Sam Teague, so let's have a look, see if we can see how that happens here. He comes down into the first corner, is really tight on behind him. He's going to make the safe move into the second corner with a better run through the first. Sam Teague goes defensive, and it looks like Jack Harvey just went for the cutback. Nice early into the corner to get fast out. They were side by side down this little short chute. Side by side through this next corner. But Harvey with the wider line can just take the momentum, pull up further, and now he is pulling away from Sam Teague. A nice last lap overtake as Rummel Jensen comes through to win. Benjamin Horiot still ahead of Jim Reed for 6th position. See, Jack Winter in the background has also not managed to take the McLaren that was ahead of him. Daniel Durrett there comes in behind Nicholas Norberg. And we have our top 10 for the race. Here we go. Back into the game, and we can see here our finalists. Jensen taking 1st position. Unfortunately, we can't look at just the pros. So Jensen taking 1st position. Rob Bound, fantastic pit stop, put him up to 2nd. Chiribao in 3rd. Burnswood in 4th. 5th for Fernandez overall, with 5th in pro for Horiot. Then Reed in 6th. Oh no, Storm and Jack Winter follow them in AM, but sticking with the pros, we have 7th for Max Diggs and Nicholas Norberg in 8th. Zakansky then in 14th overall, but 10th position in his, or 9th position in his split. 10th for Jack Harvey, Sam Teague in 11th, Paul Cramph in 12th, Carlos Bandera 13th, 14th for Paul Greytrix, and David Cox down in 26th overall takes the last point for Pro. In AM, it's a lot easier, but we have Pedro Fernandez winning that class after unlucky incident for the former leader. Alvin Storm comes in second, Jack Winter third, Daniel Durrett fourth before Joseph Cocking, who got nerfed off unfortunately by one of the pro drivers, is in fifth position. David Long in sixth, Andy Thorpe in seventh, Gino in eighth, Hawkins 9, 10th Candleby. Esposito, Poignet, Dixon Chen, Martinez, and Daniel Terry round out our point scorers for the AMs. If you're new to ACCSS, we run 2 30-minute races as the format for most of our events, which means that if you stick around, we will be having another event just after this, the same grid as before, the same 30-minute race with the same mandatory pit stop in the middle. Thank you everybody who's been coming around, supporting the stream, throwing those follows in and such. Between the stream, I am Gareth Ronther, and I am commentating for you today. And we are going to go to a quick break as our cars get onto the grid.
They're both off and follow the leader a little bit. What's going to happen is... Oh, what's going to happen here then? The back marker has held up. Not and boom.
Has finished the race.
And where wins? Where wins it on the line, ladies and gentlemen? 4/1000th of a second.
No.
That drifter. He kept it. Oh, there's carnage at the exit of the pit lane. There's 6 cars. He's being blocked by a tree. There's 6 cars in the straight.
Cantia goes for the dive, does not make it. Oh, and that's not a pass.
That's not a pass.
We are back into ACC with the second race of this evening. Lined up, ready for the green light.
Green light, show them what you got.
And we go, another excellent getaway for the Porsche, but this time the Ferrari of Chirobro has made a great start and immediately pounced upon the Aston Martin behind them. You can see that both the Aston Martins bogging down as they are known to do, and both possibly getting overtaken by Ferraris, although Jim Reed had slowed down a little bit after here. Still trying to take the inside into the hairpin here. Lots of 2x2 behind it. It looks like Sam Teague there. Was he just getting punctured about a bit? And that has caused an absolute nightmare in the back of the grid. Sam Teague getting sent around and it is chaos. Let's have a look at that again from Sam Teague's perspective at the back. He's already left a lot of room ahead of him there to Nicholas Norberg. Makes a lot of it back up in that first corner, side by side of that Mercedes. Doesn't leave him quite enough room. Then tries to go on the inside there. Oh, Sam Teague taps the Porsche, which slows him down, sends the Mercedes, who was going for a very small gap on the inside, out of him. Oh, that Porsche absolutely spins around a McLaren as well. That was not a good rejoin. A couple more people just following too closely and too quickly. McLaren gives a tap to a car, Ferrari gives a tap to a car, and they're all round. At this time at the front, it was sort of settled out reasonably nicely. We had a little bit of racing here between Horiot and Szymanski, I think. But we now have sort of settled down a little bit further into the race. We've got a nice big train of people coming here. These are all the guys who've got through. You can see Rodelli's car here, the Porsche that was right in the middle of that, pretty battered up, and there's going to be a few cars with damage on the nose and elsewhere, honestly. Rumble Jensen still wins. Apologies to Rumble Jensen, but much like last race, I have a feeling that he's going to get very little screen time. Whereas behind him, Chirbo leads Nathan Burnswood for this fight for second position. Behind them, Rob Bown is chasing them down, along with Cameron Marston and Jim Reed in the other early Ferrari. Diego Szymanski keeping on to the back of these, with Benjamin Horiot, Nicholas Norberg and Jack Winter rounding out the top 10 so far. Justin Clerk is already in the pits. He has given up after the incident that he's had. And that means Lewis Hawkins is behind Marcuccio Rodelli. Oh. Marcuccio Rodelli seems to have had another incident. Gets punted again. Can we go back with just 30 seconds replay and see... I must have already fallen down the order before here, unfortunately, and just the timing lines hadn't caught up. Down to 37th now for poor Rodelli. Nathan Burns was still right on the back of Chirabao, however, for second position.
pit window is opening.
Pit window is open for our second race of the day. 20 minutes now for all of our competitors to hit the pit lane for their mandatory tyre stop. And still a really nice battle heading up here at the front. ACCSimSeries actually getting ahead of Jim Reed there. Jim Reed is now stuck on the side. Is going to be side by side with Benjamin Horiot. Benjamin on the inside. Looks like he gets the best of that corner. Jim Reed losing 2 positions there from his mistake in the third sector. Bit of a defensive move looks like there from Gino in the Lexus, sending Carlos Bandera around the long way. Car 112, Mike Doherty taken to the grass. Going to find his way safely back on. So Cameron Marston fallen off of this pack of 4, but the rest are still there. Nathan Burnswood popping out, looking aggressive, but not going to make any move there. We'll see if he can still get around this corner with enough momentum. A big hit of the curb there sends him a little bit sideways. Ooh, a couple of people messing up that corner a little bit. I think 3 out of the 4 cars we just watched going through that corner didn't make it very well. Szymanski there, trying to make the position. Looking both which ways. Max Diggs here, being followed by Jack Harvey. These two basically both in the position they started in. But there are a few drivers around them who have made up a lot of positions. Andy Thorpe up from 24th to 11th. Paul Cramph up from 22nd to 10th. Carlos Bandera up from 25th to 13th. Few back markers getting in the way here, and Benjamin Horiot decides that he is going to be the first of our front runners to dive into the pits, as we see ACCSimSeries in the Audi following suit. Somehow ACC has confused Szymanski to being ahead. Don't quite understand how that works, but fair. So, can these guys make a similar run to what Rob Baum did in the last race? Sam Teague here is in a battle with his fellow Bentley of John Dudley for 90th position. Sam Teague already with big penalty for causing that first lap incident. Front is starting to split up a little bit. Chiribo running slightly away. Jim Reed keeping himself right in behind or Nathan Burnswood and Cameron Marston. On board with Lewis Hawkins, we watch both the cars in front of him dive into the pit lane. So a lot of people now starting to put in their pits. We're coming up towards halfway in this race. Nathan Burnswood still in this nice little pack up front. Ahead of Jim Reed. Stuck behind Cameron Marston. Nathan Burnswood lost a few positions on that start. Here is a whole bunch of cars coming out of the pits. David Long at the back of this pack. Ton of Aston Martins, all have taken their pits, all in a row here, with Nicholas Norberg actually leading. So Benjamin Horiot did not have a good pit stop. Sam Teague amazingly still in the pits with that 15-second penalty, is just being released now. These guys at the front relentless. Their little battle from 2 all the way down to 6th position. These guys are still pretty close. Very close racing here from Marston, Burnswood and Reed. Really good to see. Over back here we have Sikansky following down Andy Thorpe. Still battles all throughout this track, which is really nice to see. Not easy to overtake on this track, but I feel like it does give some decent racing. Keeps guys close together somehow. Paul Cramp, Jack Winter there, just in the head of your screen. Got a back marker Porsche behind them. Rob Bound in the pits. Cameron Marston just behind him in the pits. So this is going to be big. These guys are right up at the front. And we'll see how they come out compared to our guys who have pit already. Nicholas Norberg in the lead of those who have pit already. That black and red Aston Martin coming through to finish this lap. He's in a decent place to come out quite close to some of these guys, actually. As you can see, a ton more of the guys at the top have dived into the pits. Here is Nicholas Norberg coming past the pits. We can already see a car leaving the pit. That is the 21 of Rob Bown. There he is. Nicholas Norberg this time. The one to have done the magic in the pits. Tried the team just yeet it. So Nicholas Norberg takes the lead of those who have pit from Rob Bown, who found himself in a third position, I believe, before those pit stops. A lot of a fight going behind there. Benjamin Horiot dives to the inside. If he can get a good run out of here, he has taken that position. Quick replay of that. Now we have Chiribo in the pits, Shaq Winter in the pits, Andy Thorpe in the pits, and Fabio Sikansky in the pits. Here are the leaders of those who have pit, all four in a row. Cameron Marston looking a little bit aggy, but not quite going to make the race go. Our guys still in the pits. It's Nicholas Norberg coming up to the last corner. Chiribo has started moving. He's the first. He's the goal for Nicholas Norberg to be right in with the leaders of this race. He doesn't make it. Ooh, but there he is. He's right behind him. Has the extra momentum, but not really close enough to make a move. We didn't see him make a move last time, but this puts Chiribo out into the lead of those who have pit. Nicholas Norberg, Rob Bown just behind them. So a huge move from Nicholas Norberg. Nicholas Norberg there, a little bit scruffy through the beginning of the second sector, but keeping his way behind Chiribo. Jensen now in the pits. Jensen number 224 is already leaving the pits, so he's going to come back into the lead. Nicholas Norberg doing a great job putting himself up this far in this race. Here we are, slightly further back in the field. This is Fernandez chasing down Max Diggs. Jack Winter is actually in the lead of AMS right now. So Joseph Cocking having two bad races in a row. He's down to 6th in AM so far with a 10-second penalty to his name. Jack Winter so far ahead of his competition. Andy Thorpe and Fabio Gino fighting for second position in the AM split. A crazy train of cars down here. Joseph Cocking near the back of them. On board with... Oh, there's a Ferrari off right there. Is that Fisher? That is Fisher. Let's see how that happened. Fisher was leading this little train of cars that I came in to have a little look at. Did he just lose it himself, perhaps? Coming into this really fast left-hander. Oh yeah, just takes to the grass a little bit there. Slides off, manages to catch the spin, which is nice. Puts him in a straight line to try and get back on, but it's just so bumpy out there. He was looking for a nice clean rejoin there, but the bumps just threw him off course, and now he's at the back of that pack. And Nathan Burns would have to drive through. I did not see what that was for. Possibly speeding in the pit lane. That is a big one. Nathan Burnswood comes out in 6th position from his pit stop. And speeding in the pit lane, most likely giving him that drive-through penalty. He is now right behind Benjamin Horiot, but within the next 3 laps he's going to have to serve that, and that's going to send him flying down the order. Still got some close battles in the top though, because he is on the back of this train between him, Horiot and Brown, and then Nicholas Norberg is still right behind Chirabau. Just behind them, Marston is right on the back of Jim Reed, who also pit recently. It seems like everyone has already pit. There he goes, serving his penalty. Yeah, Chirabau feeling like he needs to be defensive ahead of Nicholas Norberg, who is just ahead of the pack we were looking at. Got 2 great battles here right next to each other. Absolute ton of people in this race, still right next to each other. We have battles going on all over the place. After the pits have settled out, although it gets very confusing when we go further down the order because we have a ton of penalties. You can see Nathan Burnswood, the first of them, in 17th. After that drive-through has managed to get himself 10 seconds as well. You can see him there in the orange car at the back of this train. Battered up Mercedes of Max Diggs behind. And this crowd all going forward as the brake markers take a tumbling. That puts us into the last 5 minutes of the race. Because what happened up front? Did Norberg and Chirabo come together? Because both of them are now fallen down the order slightly. Gonna risk it going back into the replay to see. Here we go. Chiribo leading from Norberg. Yeah, Norberg just tips him round. Gets a little bump himself on the exit, and that allows Baun and Horiot through. Nicholas Norberg then forced to follow these two further up the road. Probably going to come in with a 10-second penalty himself for that mistake. Last 3 minutes of our race. And here is the battle for second position. Benjamin Horiot chasing down Rob Baun, who once again has done a fantastic job in this race. The Mercedes out there hitting the wall in the background as Nathan Burnswood goes for this move on Pedro Fernandez. Still side by side, Pedro Fernandez has the inside now, but is too far back to keep it stuck. Doesn't confident with his braking there. We see actually on the other side of that fence as well a Ferrari hitting the wall. No, it's a McLaren. That was the black McLaren of Dixon Chen. So a lot of people losing it at this final part of the race. Jack Harvey here, who's managed to make his way up to 11th position with a pretty bad Lexus, I must say. He's chasing down Sikansky for the last spot in the top 10. He is top 10 in his class as Jack Winter in 9th position leads the AMS. Harvey real close, pointing his car aggressively but not quite making it. Back up the front, Benjamin Horiot fallen down a little bit from Rob Baun, not able to keep the closeness up front. The closest real battle up front, Jack Winter on Diego Szymanski, and just behind him, Szymanski faced by Jack Harvey. Jack Harvey also has Paul Cramp real close to him in that horrible McLaren livery. Car 211 has left the race. That's Lucas Fisher. He just went off at turn 1 and has retired. But we are now on the final lap for the leader of our race. Still watching this battle with Jack Harvey, Fabio Szymanski and Paul Cramp. Oh, really clunking over the curves there. The McLaren of Paul Cramp right up his back, but not able to make a move there. Where is our leader? Our leader is coming onto the back straight. To lead off the end to this race. Benjamin Horriot caught back up to Rob Bound, but he doesn't have long to make a move stick. This one's going to take a little bit of sorting out after the race with the amount of penalties that we have. As Rummel Jensen comes through to take the win in his second race. And unless this pace is a Snetterton only thing, this man is going to be banned very soon. He has 2 wins on the day, which means 1 more win for the rest of this season, and he's gone. He will be allowed to drive out the rest of this season, but that will be his entire history in ACCSS. Rob Bound is chased down by Benjamin Horriot for the second position. Then have Nicholas Norberg there in the background. He has 10-second penalty, so he's going to fall behind Chirabao, who finishes just behind him. Jim Reed, who's made it up to impressive 6th. Marston might not get ahead of Norberg there. We see a few more drivers coming through. Szymanski, Winter, Sikansky, Harvey, Krampf, Diggs, Burnswood, Fernandez, Bandera. David Long, Joseph Cocking. David Cox then behind John Dudley. Here we get Storm, Lewis Hawkins, Paul Gratrix. A little bit of a side-by-side to the line here between Piogne and the Lexus of Gino. Piogne just takes it. And now we need to give a little bit of a break before we can see where people actually came, because of course there have been quite a few penalties here. So stick around and we'll catch you in a moment when we see who is where. So, the race is over. We have Jensen, 2-time winner today, followed by Baun, Horriot, Chirabo, Reed, Norberg, Marston, and Szymanski, with Sikansky and Jack Harvey rounding out the top 10, and Krampf, Diggs, McGregor, Burnswood, and Bandera taking the last points-paying positions for Pro. In AM, we have Jack Winter, followed by Pedro Fernandez and David Long, rounding out the podium with Cocking, Thorpe, Storm, Hawkins, Nergard, Durrett, and Gino rounding out the top 10. Canblay, Martinez, Ponye, Esposito, Goldenitz rounding out the points-paying positions. That was the results of race 2. And it's been a good day. A lot of tightness in the field. It was good and fun to see. Still not sure on Snetterton, honestly. Still not sure on Snetterton, honestly. We will one day have to really get an idea on how we feel on it. But off to Zolder next. Zolder next week is going to be our destination for racing. I think I'm right. Then Monza, Kyalami, and Donington as our final round. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Once again, thank you for everyone subscribing and such, and following. I'm gonna turn my game sound once again back down for when I go racing. It was great to see you all. If you follow, we stream Saturdays and Sundays every week for our silver and gold splits. Sign up in the chat will give you a link to our Discord, where if you read the welcome hall, you can find out how to join Sim Racing GP. Thank you everyone for sticking around. We will see you next time.
Bring the smell of rain into my bed and lie so close to me. You could be inside my head. Maybe it's a once in a lifetime kind of thing to feel the kind of magic that you're